What if one sentence from Jesus has been misunderstood for nearly 2,000 years? What if the kingdom of God is not something waiting in humanity's future but something already surrounding you at this very moment? Imagine discovering that the greatest spiritual treasure has never been hidden in heaven, but concealed in plain sight. Today, you'll uncover one of the most astonishing teachings preserved in the Gospel of Thomas, a saying that overturns everything many people have been taught about the kingdom of God, and at the center of this revelation is one ancient Aramaic word, Malkuta. For centuries, the Christian world received the teachings of Jesus primarily through translations written in Greek, then Latin, and later into modern languages. These translations preserved much of his message, but they could never fully preserve the living sounds of the Aramaic words he originally spoke. Then, in 1945, near Nag Hammadi in Upper Egypt, archaeologists and local farmers uncovered a remarkable collection of ancient manuscripts hidden beneath the desert for nearly 16 centuries. These Gnostic Gospels never included in the official biblical canon preserved sayings attributed to Jesus that had remained unknown to most of the world. Among them was saying 113, a passage whose message about the kingdom has challenged scholars, historians, and spiritual seekers ever since. Rather than describing a distant future event, this forgotten text presents the kingdom as an ever-present reality that humanity simply fails to perceive. To understand why this saying is so extraordinary, we must first understand the language Jesus actually spoke. Jesus did not teach the crowds in Greek. He did not preach in Latin. The language that flowed naturally from his lips throughout Galilee was Aramaic. In that words were never considered empty labels. Every sacred sound carried movement, intention, and living force. Ancient teachers believed that the vibration of an Aramaic word participated in the reality it described. To pronounce the word correctly was not merely to repeat a definition, it was to align the heart with the truth hidden inside that sound. This is why so many believe that hearing these words, as Jesus spoke them, reconnects us with our original spiritual design, awakening what has always existed beneath fear, distraction, and separation. The key word in today's teaching is Malkuta, pronounced Malkuta, A-H meaning kingdom, but more accurately, the divine reign, the living realm of God, or the active presence of God. The word describes far more than a place. It describes a reality. When the disciples asked Jesus when the kingdom would come, they expected a date, a sign, or a visible event that everyone could witness. Their expectation was future-oriented, just as many people still think today. But Jesus answered in a completely unexpected way. He said the kingdom does not come by observation. People will not say, "Look, here it is," or "There it is." Instead, the kingdom is already spread across the earth, and people simply do not see it. Everything changes the moment Malkuta, pronounced meaning the living divine reign, is understood in its original depth. The kingdom is no longer something to wait for. It becomes something to awaken to. Imagine standing beside Jesus on a hillside as those words were first spoken. The disciples had left everything to follow him. Like many faithful Jews of their time, they believed the kingdom of God would arrive through unmistakable signs. They expected a decisive moment when history itself would change before everyone's eyes. Their question was natural. When will the kingdom come? Yet instead of describing future events, Jesus redirected their attention entirely. It was as if he were saying, "You are asking the wrong question. The kingdom is not absent because the appointed day has not yet arrived. The kingdom appears absent because your eyes have not yet learned how to recognize it." This single shift changes the entire spiritual journey. Most people spend their lives waiting for peace, waiting for certainty, waiting for a miracle, waiting for the perfect circumstances that will finally allow them to experience God. But what if waiting itself has become the greatest obstacle? What if the presence of God has never withdrawn? What if Malkuta has always surrounded you, like the air you breathe, so close, so constant, that the ordinary mind simply overlooks it? Think about sunlight filling a room. No one creates the light after opening the curtains. The light was already there. Removing the barrier simply allows what already exists to become visible. That is the invitation hidden inside saying 113. The kingdom does not need to arrive. The veil needs to be lifted. The eyes of the heart need to awaken. Perhaps this is why so many people continue searching from one spiritual experience to another, while overlooking the quiet presence already surrounding every ordinary moment. In the next chapter, you'll discover why this forgotten understanding of Malkuta may be one of the greatest paradigm shifts in all of Jesus' teachings, and why it has the power to completely transform the way you see reality. If today's message resonated with your heart, we've prepared an ancient wisdom companion to explore these teachings more deeply. True knowledge sets us free. The link is waiting for you in the comments, and the best is yet to come. In the next chapters, you'll discover what could change everything for you. If the kingdom is already here, why do so few people experience it? Why do sincere believers continue searching for something they have been promised is already present? The answer may lie in one simple habit that shapes nearly every human life. We have been trained to look outward before we ever learn to look inward. From childhood, we are taught that fulfillment always exists somewhere else. We believe peace will arrive after success. Joy will come after security. God will feel close after we become worthy enough. The mind is constantly projected into tomorrow, always expecting the next event to complete what feels incomplete today. Yet Jesus quietly dismantled this entire pattern. When he spoke of Malkuta, pronounced Malkuta, meaning the living divine reign, he described something that could not be measured by geography, politics, or the passing of time. Malkuta was not waiting beyond history. It was waiting beyond perception. Imagine standing beside a magnificent ocean while wearing a blindfold. You could debate its existence for years. Others could describe its beauty in endless detail. You could memorize every map and every scientific explanation. Yet until the blindfold is removed, the ocean remains invisible, not because it is absent, but because your vision is covered. According to saying 113, humanity lives in much the same way. The kingdom is not hidden from us. We are hidden from the kingdom. This is one of the most profound reversals in all the teachings attributed to Jesus. Instead of asking God to bring his presence into the world, perhaps the deeper invitation is allowing ourselves to awaken to the presence that has never departed. Notice how often Jesus invited people to see. Those who have eyes to see. Those who have ears to hear. These expressions were never merely about physical sight or hearing. They pointed towards spiritual perception, a way of seeing reality that goes beyond appearances. The more we become consumed by fear, endless distraction, resentment, comparison, and anxiety, the less capable we become of recognizing what has always surrounded us. The noise of the world slowly becomes louder than the quiet presence of God. That is why Malkuta is not simply a theological idea. It is an invitation to recover spiritual vision. The remarkable truth is that nothing new needs to be created. Nothing has to descend from heaven before you can begin living differently. The greatest miracle may simply be learning to recognize what has always been here, patiently waiting for your awareness. And once that awareness begins to awaken, every ordinary moment starts revealing extraordinary meaning. This is why the Gospel of Thomas presents the kingdom in such a radically different light. Instead of directing attention toward distant expectations, it repeatedly turns the seeker back toward immediate awareness. It is not denying the greatness of God, it is revealing the nearness of God. Think about how revolutionary this would have sounded to the first listeners of Jesus. They expected dramatic signs, they expected political restoration, they expected visible power. Instead, Jesus pointed toward an invisible reality that quietly surrounds every living person, whether they recognize it or not. That teaching has lost none of its power today. Modern life has become louder than ever. Every notification competes for our attention. Every opinion demands a reaction. Every fear insists on becoming our focus. In such an environment, the silent reality of Malkuta pronounced, meaning the living divine reign, is easily overlooked. Yet silence has always been one of the great teachers of spiritual perception. When the mind becomes still, we begin noticing what constant activity prevented us from seeing. When the heart becomes quiet, gratitude appears where anxiety once ruled. When awareness deepens, even ordinary moments become filled with extraordinary presence. Perhaps this explains why Jesus so often withdrew to lonely places before teaching the crowds. Solitude was not an escape from the world. It was preparation to see the world through the eyes of the kingdom. The same invitation remains open today. Not everyone will recognize Malkuta. Not because God is hiding, but because distraction has become our normal way of living. The kingdom cannot be discovered by running faster than everyone else. It cannot be purchased, earned, or controlled. It is recognized through awakened perception, a heart that has learned to become fully present. The disciples expected Jesus to reveal the date of the kingdom. Instead, he revealed the condition necessary to perceive it. That may be the greatest surprise hidden within saying 130 in. The kingdom has never been absent. Our attention has, and perhaps the most important discovery is not learning where the kingdom is, but learning how to see what has always been before our eyes. Right now, you might be asking yourself, why am I only discovering this truth now? Don't worry. We thought about that. We're here to help you go deeper with a guide made for this journey. The link is in the comments. Everything now leads us to one final question before we enter the practical transformation itself. If the kingdom is already spread across the earth, why did Jesus choose the word Malkuta instead of simply saying heaven or future? Because Malkuta, pronounced Malkuta, meaning the living divine reign, describes an active reality rather than a distant destination. The kingdom is not merely where God reigns someday. It is the reality in which God is already reigning now. This single insight changes the entire direction of the spiritual journey. Many people spend years trying to reach God, believing that every prayer is an attempt to shorten an impossible distance. Yet the words of Jesus suggest the opposite. The distance is not between God and humanity. The distance exists between human awareness and the presence that has never departed. Imagine someone standing in brilliant daylight while insisting that darkness surrounds them. The problem is not the absence of light. The problem is where they have chosen to direct their attention. The same principle appears throughout the teachings of Jesus. He consistently redirected people's focus away from fear and toward presence, away from appearances and toward truth, away from waiting and toward awakening. That is why saying 113 remains one of the most revolutionary passages ever attributed to Jesus. It quietly removes the illusion that fulfillment belongs only to tomorrow. Instead, it invites every seeker to begin living from the kingdom today. When you begin recognizing Malkuta in ordinary moments, everything starts changing. Gratitude becomes easier. Fear loses its authority. Compassion grows naturally. Silence becomes meaningful instead of uncomfortable. Even suffering is seen differently, because it is no longer experienced outside the presence of God. This is not an escape from reality. It is seeing reality more clearly. Perhaps that is what Jesus wanted his disciples to understand all along. Stop searching for the kingdom as though it were somewhere beyond the horizon. Open your eyes. Learn to see, because the kingdom has been quietly surrounding you since your very first breath. We are just scratching the surface of this ancient power. Get ready, because in our next video, I will reveal even deeper Aramaic codes that unlock spiritual authority you've never imagined. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss this unfolding revelation. The teaching of saying 113 becomes truly alive only when it is practiced. Jesus never intended these words to remain philosophical ideas. They were meant to become a way of seeing the world every single day. Beginning tomorrow morning, before speaking to anyone or looking at your phone, find a quiet place. Sit comfortably and take 7 slow, peaceful breaths. With each exhale, gently speak Malkuta, pronounced Malkuta, meaning the living divine reign. Allow the sound to slow your thoughts. Do not rush the pronunciation. Let each repetition remind you that you are not asking the kingdom to come. You are awakening to the kingdom that is already here. After speaking Malkuta 7 times, remain silent for 1 full minute. During that silence, simply observe everything around you without judgment. The light entering the room, the movement of the air, the rhythm of your breathing, the beating of your heart. Practice noticing instead of searching. Throughout the day, whenever anxiety, fear, frustration, or uncertainty arise, pause for a moment before reacting. Quietly repeat Malkuta once more. Ask yourself a single question. What would I notice right now if I truly believed the kingdom is already here? Allow that question to guide your next thought, your next word, or your next action. Repeat this practice every morning for 21 consecutive days. Do not seek dramatic experiences. Instead, observe the subtle changes. You may find yourself becoming more patient, more peaceful, less reactive, and increasingly aware of the presence that quietly surrounds every moment. This is the invitation Jesus left behind. Not to spend your life waiting for the kingdom, but to awaken to Malkuta, the divine reality that has never stopped embracing the world. Just a quick reminder. The transformation guides for a fuller life are waiting for you, right there in the comments. Before you leave, if this message touched your heart or brought new understanding into your life, write the word awakened in the comments below. Your testimony may encourage someone else who is seeking clarity, hope, and a deeper awareness of God's presence.